Hi, I'm Sid Ropp. I'm reading to you now from A Simple Explanation of Absolutely Everything. This is page 2 of the original edition. Then consciousness had a thought. This multi-dimensional metaverse still lacked space and time, but it now quivered with limitless mathematical potential. So there's still nothing. It's just potential. This mathematical potential began unfolding into countless dimensions. In a twinkling, our entire universe was imagined in the fullness of its complexity. Because, say, if you were the absolute God of the universe, you could do that, right? It's only imagining. From the tiniest quanta through the greatest astral bodies, every animal, vegetable, and mineral, every element, everything, and every function. At the very moment this thought was conceived, the metaverse conceived every organizing principle needed to shape and sustain space and time. So I wrote this in 2010 is when it was published, right? Now we call those algorithms. We weren't so popular with the word algorithm being thrown around 8 years ago. I called it a formula or organizing principle. Now we'd call it an algorithm. So the metaverse, the second it conceived all this stuff, it knew all the algorithms, it knew what everything was going to do. To sustain space and time, energy, and mass. Mass means stuff. Energy means movement. All right. All was in ideal balance. Every system was theoretically in tune. Every function was perfectly performed. The consequence of every action anticipated, understood, and plotted to the nth degree. And it was all good. Because once again, this is the Creator Absolute with the most unimaginable creative power far beyond our ability to comprehend. So, it's kind of stipulated that it could do that. And it's just imagination still. It's just potential. So nothing's really happened yet. But once the metaverse formed this particular thought became an object in the great sea of no thought. So the metaverse, once again, is a state of consciousness without particularity, or consciousness without any perturbations, no oscillations, perfect peace and stillness, but complete unlimited potential. But once it had this thought, now there's a thought. Where there was only pure consciousness, now there existed something, thought. In order to preserve the undisturbed tranquility of the metaverse, thought immediately sealed itself off from pure consciousness by focusing inward, and in so doing formed a toroidal-shaped bubble around the metaverse, initiating sequential time. So if you've seen the drawings in the simple explanation of the torus, let me set this down. The torus, the way I conceive of it, the reason time is linear is because it passes one way through the middle of the singularity of the donut or the torus or the bagel hole, right? Potential comes in at the top, and the further away potential is, the further away in time that you imagine, the more limitless the potential is. If you're standing here right now and you think, well, what might I be able to do 5 minutes from now? You got a certain amount of things you could accomplish in 5 minutes, or that could happen to you within the next 5 minutes. If you think, what could I accomplish in the next 50 years? You see how your potential has opened up in this kind of V shape? Now, if you're the unimaginably creative, originating algorithm of this entire universe, the potentials are limitless in the initiating moment of thought. So, the closer you get to funneling down, now you're getting close to the great black hole. Imagine that top of the torus is funneling down. Time potential, anything you could do, imaginable, becomes narrowed down and gets squeezed into a singularity. And the name of that singularity is here and now. Once it passes through the point of here and now, there's no more potential. You don't swim back upstream. You come out, history passes now, and instead of being this great funnel-shaped cloud and all of the universe beyond that, it is a string of linear time that passes downward, and that's what we call history. In religious traditions, it's what's called karma. So in the simple explanations diagrams, the singularity of time comes down, but it doesn't end there because there's consequences of behavior, aka karma, and that's what wraps around and joins the great funnel of everything that could possibly happen coming down. But karma heavily informs the potential of what comes down because it's riding on the outside of your own personal shroud, so to speak. It's not funneling down from the great universe. Okay, so back to where we were, picking up the book again. Okay, so thought immediately sealed itself off from pure consciousness by focusing inward. And in so doing, transformed a toroidal-shaped bubble. It formed a toroidal-shaped bubble around itself. Where there was only the tranquil nothingness of the metaverse, there was now thought and directed action, initiating sequential time, which is what I just described to you. On this day that time began, consciousness wrapped itself around our universe, forming a border between us and infinity. Mind took on a shape. This toroidal-shaped membrane, you see that's a cross-section of it? There's here and now in the middle. It was composed of conscious thought and its concept of this universe. Split off from the unformed metaverse and now operating on its own. The simple explanation calls this original torus the universal unit of consciousness, the universal UC in short. The content of its thought is the entire logos of this universe. Logos is the Greek word for information or the way things are. So, if consciousness is thought bubbles shaped like these donuts, the thought bubble for our entire universe is everything that could potentially happen in this universe. And this is how the Bible puts it. Quote, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Logos was in the beginning with God. All things were made through Word, and without this Logos, nothing was made that was made." So that's page 2 of the simple explanation.